Hey, I decided to turn my hat upside down, or backwards. Not upside down, backwards. Just for sake of continuity, so that there's a little less confusion on like, oh, well, it's the same video. Okay, so what I wanted to talk about was men and women, and what are the pros and the cons of being a man or a woman. And I was thinking about it, and I realized I'm a dude, I'm a man. I don't know. I don't know what the pros of being a woman, or if you don't like that word, a lady, okay, a girl. I don't know what the pros are. The pros that I'm aware of are from a dude perspective, from a guy perspective. And I realized that was kind of weird. And so I asked my wife, and I asked my boss, who is a female, and it was very interesting to get different answers that all kind of amounted to the same thing. And I'm going to do a really poor job of articulating them because I did not bring notes. I did not prepare ahead of time because that would be responsible, which I did not do. Anyhow, but some of the highlights that I thought were very interesting. And there's the obvious stuff of like, well, actually, not even obvious. No, I'm not going to attribute my own thoughts on it. Let's just get into some of them. One of them was women are more aesthetic. Women's clothes are more aesthetic. So when I say aesthetic, I mean like the female form is, it can be curvy. Even a woman who doesn't have curves and is just very straight, angular lines, even that it has a certain aesthetic to it. And even on the other end of the spectrum, a woman who has just got a lot of extra, she tends to be very curvy, and to an extent, that's also aesthetic. So, bar extreme circumstances, women's bodies tend to be a lot more aesthetic, a lot more pleasing to the eyes visually than your average man. And even in the best, most physical situation where you have an actor who's like in tip-top shape, there's only a certain amount of like attractiveness. You could look at Arnold Schwarzenegger in his prime, right? And he's Mount, Olympian or whatever, and he's got all these muscles. Or you could look at a guy who's shredded. I'm trying to think. Brad Pitt in Fight Club, right? And women can like those both different types of guys, and dudes can also like those two different body types. However, it's not as aesthetic to the eye. Like, I admire Brad Pitt in Fight Club more than Arnold Schwarzenegger as Mr. Olympia, but it's probably, in my opinion, because it's a little more akin to female athletic form, which is very compact and nimble. So it's less that, men are also aesthetic. It's more that women are aesthetic, and to an extent, to the degree that men are either match that or have their own like diamond formation where they got broad shoulders and they got the six pack and things of that nature. To the extent that they're there, then you're like, okay, cool, they're aesthetic as well. Other thing, clothing. Now, this is kind of a weird thing because, women currently design clothes and make clothes, and men have a long time designed and made clothes. But what's fascinating to me is that despite all that, you could have a guy and a girl in the same outfit, right? But fitted to them. And the woman will make the lady, her outfit will look just so much better. And we're talking about jeans and a t-shirt. If you take jeans and a t-shirt on a lady versus a man, the lady is going to be more aesthetic. And women, ladies, have a much wider range of options and choices as far as clothing, accoutrements, accessories, bags, you name it. So whereas men, and look at like red carpet events, men kind of are stuck in this certain form. And then throughout times, men were kind of stuck in this certain form. And even, well, you could be like, okay, Japanese time, men were a certain thing, like ancient Japan, feudal Japan, right? But the women also, hi buddy, the women also would wear certain stuff. But even in that situation, even in that formal situation, women would have a wide range of things and colors that they could choose from. And it was all widely accepted. And similarly, like in medieval times in the court, or later in Renaissance times in the court, women, not only were their dresses many different levels of decadency, but their hairs were all this other stuff. Whereas men, even in that opulent, hyper-Renaissance time, they were a lot more dressed down than the most dressed up woman. Like the king of France. Like, yeah, he looked fabulous, right? But he would still be less fabulous than the queen at that time. So anyways, that's close. Other things, and this is kind of important. Women run the world. I might have talked about this time and time again. But women run the world. If they are doing their job correctly, women run the world. Because women can basically be like, hey, like if you're in a relationship, ladies, ask your man to do a thing. Be polite, don't command him, don't yell at him, don't threaten him. Ask him to do a thing just politely. Chances are he's going to do it. Now, men could say, well, if I ask my lady to do a thing, she'll do it too. Right. Well, what you'll experience is that guys are more likely to do what women ask, even if they are not offered a reward or told they're going to get anything in return or anything of that nature. Even if they're not romantically involved with the person, they are more likely to do that thing and do it well and do it quickly than being asked to do the same thing by a guy. Because that's just the way it is. It's deeply ingrained in us as a society. Furthermore, if you think about it, guys left to their own devices, they're going to kind of focus on their stuff, whether it's their body or their career or these things, right? And then what interestingly enough happens is, well, how come other guys go above and beyond and do this other stuff? Maybe it's because they have greater drive or passion or things of that nature. Or it could be that there is a woman in their life or their mom or someone who has basically instilled this bug in them to do more, do better, be better, to push. That's fascinating. Like, well, why does that matter? Like, dudes do more, yeah. But interestingly enough, it's like, I would argue, and here's my perspective, is that women, they shape the world. They shape it. They're like, we're going to go from point A to point B. They've created a plan, like, I want this, right? Whereas men just build. We just want, we want our pizza, we want a beer, we want to hang out, we want to watch the game. We're very, very simple creatures. Women want things to be just so. And even if you were to take a standard woman and you were to give her all the things, right? You give her a really nice house and a really nice neighborhood with a really nice car. You give her all these things, right? Well, your average dude would be like, I'm good, that's it. And your average dude doesn't need that stuff anyways. He'd be all right with a shitty apartment in some crappy neighborhood with no parking. And as long as he's got a TV and a bed and some popcorn and pizza, he'll be all right. But you give a woman all this nice stuff, guarantee you dollars to donuts, she's going to want more. Hey, what about this? What if we get a puppy? Or let's start having kids. Let's do that. Or like, I want to do this other thing, so we need to have someone clean the house. None of that stuff is bad. It might come across as bad, but in actual fact, it's terrific. Because to move society forward, you need somebody who is always asking for more. And it doesn't matter what you give them, they always want more. They want to improve. Okay? And it might sound like a bad thing, but if you don't have that entity and in this case, half the population, if you don't have them there, then the society will be stagnant. You won't have men going out and like, whatever. You won't have humankind, where it is. You won't. So my hypothesis is that women are so fundamentally important and as drivers and pushers of the future success of mankind, that if you have a girl in your life, a woman in your life, or a child in your life who's having this like existential crisis, or like, oh my God, men are so annoying, or I wish I was a man, or I wish this, that, and the other thing, and like, I'm really not the person to talk on this because I'm a dude. And normally I will talk on anything, but this particular subject it flummoxed me. I was taken aback. I didn't know what to say. And I still don't know what to say, which is why I'm kind of roundy-rosy of it. But after talking to my wife, I felt inspired to at least talk about the issue of like, this is such an interesting phenomenon. And I feel like, ladies, you need to talk with other ladies in your life and really kind of have a heart-to-heart on like what your role is, what your power is, because you're tremendously powerful. And to the extent that you unify as a group and see eye to eye and come into agreements on like not poaching other ladies' guys, or like, hey, yeah, this is what we stand for, like no cheating, and like, okay, we're not gonna, well, this, that, and like there's a lot of stuff which is not really my bailiwick to talk about. I feel like there's a tremendous power that the ladies of the world would have if they kind of, even just individually, a little bit by bit, started talking with each other and being like, oh, yeah, we have this. And realize that you have tremendous power. You are super people. And with that power comes tremendous responsibility. And giving up that responsibility to the government or some outside entity, or just dropping it until somebody else picks it up, that's not gonna lead to good things. That's not gonna push society forward. But to the extent that you acknowledge your responsibility and your power, you can help shape not only the next year, but the next 5, 10, 20, 100, 1,000 years of society. But you need to understand that you have that power, and you have the capability to mold men and shape them and guide them into doing the right thing. Now, this isn't to say that all the responsibility is on women and guys are blameless. Quite the contrary. Guys are rather simple and silly, though. So if left to our own devices, we'll probably make a lot more mistakes than are totally necessary. But if properly guided and led, or just guided, we will happily go above and beyond and do what you want. And then some. Because most guys love ladies. We do. We want the best for you. So, sorry I got all quiet at the end. Hope the audio is good. I love you.